Webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast.
All right, good morning everyone, or good afternoon to some of you. My name's Adam
The
Stewart.
broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, good morning everyone, or good afternoon to others. My name's Adam Stewart, and I'll be conducting today's training webinar. We'll be covering how to use the Contact Manager page today, and we'll get started here in about 1 minute. There's still some folks logging on. For those of you that are already here, I had a little bit of difficulty getting the webinar set up today, so I just want to confirm that you can hear me, and if you can let me know that you can hear me and that you can see my screen simply by sending me a message through the chat window, I would really appreciate that. And then we'll go ahead and get started in 1 minute.
This is Steve.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started, everyone. So again, my name's Adam, and I'm going to show you today how to utilize the Contact Manager aspect of ProspectNow. Contact Manager is an area of ProspectNow where you're able to save your qualified prospects to in order to follow up with them in the future. So you'll see here at the top of the screen, you've got the navigation through the guided search, the property search, the tenant search, and then there's also this button called the Contact Manager, which if you click on it, you get a drop down with a bunch of different options here. I'm going to go through all of those today and explain to you how you can utilize them. But let's start from step one, and that is to actually, I'm going to go into my Contact Manager. I'm going to clear it out completely, so we're starting with a blank slate. So you can ignore what I'm doing for now because I'm going to show you how to do it again a little later. Okay, so right now my Contact Manager is completely empty. And so I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to do a quick, build a quick search and simply add some records to my Contact Manager so you can see how that's done. There's a few different ways. So let's just do Dallas, Texas is fine. We'll just do the whole county. Actually, I'm going to do a polygon search and then draw a shape on the map. This is a really fun way to search. So let's do, look, I think this is downtown Dallas. So I'm just going to draw a shape. There's about 1,000 results in there. So at this point, I'm in the property search. I'm not even in the Contact Manager yet. This is just me putting together a search. So we're going to do commercial properties, brings it down to about 200. I'm just going to keep it real simple and just look at all of those. So I'm not going to put in any filters or anything like that. I just want to get straight to the results so we can start putting them in the Contact Manager. So here we go. We've got the polygon. You can see here on the map. This is the shape that I drew, and I just drew that by clicking. It's available on this map as well, but this option right over here says draw a shape. So again, you can just draw a shape in there. I'm just clicking on each point on the map where I want a corner of the polygon to be, and then when it's complete, I can just hit search. So here we go. I've got all these properties, and I want to start going through them and putting them in my Contact Manager. So what's the first step? I'm going to try and look up their phone number, give them a call, and see see what the deal is, right? So this is a pretty large building, 1.7 million square foot. So probably a pretty tall building if I'm not mistaken. But let's go ahead and click get phone number and see what happens. No results found. We'll go to the next call. and we get a phone number for 1445 Ross Avenue LLC, which is the owner of the building. And we have the name of their controller here, Merritt Cornett. So let's say we give him a call, we talk to Merritt, and he tells us, hey, I'm not the right guy to talk to, I just write the checks. You want to talk to Bob, he's our asset manager. Okay, great. So how do we get that information into the contact manager? Like I said, there's a few different ways you can do that. And you're going to see when you look up a phone number, as I just did, next to each phone number that you look up, there's a little orange button that says Save. And if you click on that, it's going to allow you to save the call details and the contact information. So I can come in here and I can say, spoke to Merritt, and he advised me to call Bob at, and you can put in the phone number if he gave you that. We'll say he did in this case, 214-555-5555. And then if you want to make this bigger, you can see there's like 3 diagonal little lines there. If you click and hold and drag that, you can make that text bigger if you need more room. So from there, you could put in a call result, right? Contact, no contact, wrong number. In this case, it would be a contact. And then we could set up a follow-up action, such as a task, to remind us to call Bob, tomorrow. So I'm going to click Save again. And you'll notice, before I do that, this option, Contact Manager, is always, you cannot unselect it. So anytime you're saving anything, it's always getting put into the Contact Manager for you. So I'm going to click Save, and it's going to take me to the task creation window. So because I selected follow-up activity task, it's going to ask, okay, well now I need to put in the details for that task. So the task is call Bob, and we can put in a status. By default, it's going to be not started, and we can always modify that as we progress through the task. Put in a due date of tomorrow, and comments, Bob is the asset manager. Save. So now this record is in our contact manager. This phone number is going to be plugged in to the record for us, so we don't technically need to look up that phone number again. It's always going to be there. So the next time you come in here and maybe call this number again, you wouldn't click the Get Phone button to pull up that window. But let's say you had an update that you wanted to make to the record. Well, there's a way to do that, and that's simply, you'll notice next to each record there is a Save button. And so we would click Save, and from there you can see we still have the option for Contact Manager. Now, because I'm not doing this from the call window, I don't have the option of the call details, setting a contact, no contact, follow-up task. And so I can put in any notes, and actually that's not true. I do have the option to press any of these buttons here, add task, add appointment, add to group, and that will actually create a follow-up task when it updates the record in the contact manager. So let's go back to our scenario with Bob, the asset manager. Let's say tomorrow I call this number, this 214 number, 555-5555, and I talk to Bob, and he says, hey, I'm busy, I'm going on vacation for a long weekend, call me next week. Well, there's another task that we would want to enter. So I'm going to click Save next to the record, since I didn't use the Get Phone button to look it up. And I'm going to say, put in my note, Bob says call him next week. He is going to Shreveport for a long weekend. Okay, so a note there, and then I'm going to click on Add Task to add a subsequent follow-up call. So you'll notice it's updated my note to the most recent, and then I'm going to create a new task, not started, call Bob next week. Okay. Comment, ask him how he enjoyed Shreveport. Okay, and then save. Added successfully, and you can click here to view the task if you want to make any adjustments, or just close the window. So hopefully this is pretty straightforward so far. There is one other way that you can place a record in the contact manager. And well, from this page, there's one more way, and it's right here. It's this little floppy disk, and you notice if I hover over it, it says Add to Contact Manager, and your options are exactly the same as what I just showed you when you press Save next to the record. Okay, so it does exactly the same thing. So I'm not going to go through an example there since I just showed you. Okay, so now I just mentioned that's just one page. This is just the page where you can add records to the contact manager. There's 3 different ways. When you look up the phone number, you have the option. You've got the save option next to the record, and then the floppy disk. Now, under this tab for owner, you'll notice that the name of the owner is highlighted in blue. And so if you click on that, it's going to take you to a details. That's what I call it. I call it the details page. And it's really what it is, and it's an exploded view of that specific record that you had selected. So you can see the owner. You can make edits to the ownership of the record. So I can come in here and say, hey, my contact person is not, this one, it's actually Bob, right? Bob, and his phone number is 214-555-5555. And so you can actually make some changes here if you come across any changes that need to be made. It will not, and this is probably a question some of you already have, it's not going to show up for everyone that has ProspectNow and sees this record. It's only going to show up for you. Again, just to repeat, it's not going to edit the master ProspectNow record. It's only going to edit your personal view of this record. Okay? Just want to make that clear. So now you can see the numbers changed and now it shows up as Bob. We've got the phone number there. You can also see that I've got these different notes that I took. So on the first page, it's only showing us the most recent note, which would be this one. I'll show you if I go back here. You can see it's only showing me one note, which is the second one that I entered. However, if I go to the details page, again, by clicking on this, this owner name, you can see it's got a history of notes, and it'll go back as far as you want. I think it shows like 5 at a time here, and then it starts adding, pages that you have to click through. Because obviously, if you have 100 notes, you don't want to have to scroll all the way down the page, because as you just saw, you already have to do that to get the full picture here. So we've got the owner information over here, owner company information. LLC information, if we have it, you'll see that here, or you can do a lookup as well. In fact, I could do that right here, since we see that 1445 Ross Avenue LLC is the owner. Let's see if we have it in our database and it's just not pulling it up for some reason. You could just click on that, type in the 1445. It'll since that's the keyword. Doesn't look like we have that LLC in our database, so that's why it's not showing up in the first place. But you can use this as a lookup. If we already have the LLC data, it'll be populated here for you. I'm going to come back to this last, the properties owned, in just a moment. So I'm going to go back up to the top here, and you can see we've got the notes. We already kind of talked about that. Now, let me point your attention, before I move on to groups, pipeline tasks, etc. As I mentioned at the beginning, when you click on the contact manager, which we haven't even gotten to yet, we're technically still in the property search. When you click on the contact manager, you'll notice we've got groups, we've got a task manager, pipeline, notes manager. So all of these entries here for notes, groups, pipeline, tasks, appointments, these are all components of the contact manager. And so you can actually update the record from this details page, and it will show up in the contact manager as well. So if I want to add this record to a group that I have in my contact manager, a property group, I can do that from the details page. So let's say I want to put them in my call back next week group. I would just add that owner to the group from this page. I could also do it from the contact manager. It's just that sometimes doing it from this page is more convenient. Pipeline. We'll talk about all that when we get into the contact manager. I just want to make it clear, while we're on this page, you can actually make updates to the record for purposes of updating your contact manager from this details page, which again I accessed by clicking on the owner's name from the search results page. So this webinar is being recorded. If you need me to repeat that, there will be a recording available later today. Adding appointments is available to you as well. And then you've got a map, you've got a street view as well. It looks like it's one of the ones where they actually went in the building on this particular entry. Now, as I mentioned, I wanted to come back to this because it's super valuable. This allows you to see all the properties owned by this entity. So 1445 Ross Avenue LLC, in addition to the record that we're looking at, they own 3 other buildings. 1800 Field Street, which just looks like a plot of vacant land, as well as another vacant land, 1800 Freeman Street. So that is really valuable, because if you're on the phone with them and they say, hey, listen, we're never going to sell 1445 Ross Avenue. Oh, hey, no problem. I see that you own a couple other properties on Field Street and Freeman Street. What are your plans for those, right? So, yeah. Now I had a question come in from Al that's kind of related to when I made the edit to the record about who can see it. So Al's specific question is, who else can see my contact list and info? So I'm assuming you just mean who else can see your contact manager. Only you can see that. The only exception would be if you're part of a company account. Like if you're with, for example, KW Commercial has a lot. They've purchased ProspectNow for all of their agents, and so they actually have administrative insight, so they can see your contact manager as well. But if you're just an individual subscriber, it's only you can see your contact manager. So on that note, let's actually get into the contact manager, and we're going to look at my properties. The reason I'm going there is because everything I just did was from the property search. So in the interest of time, I'm going to try and make this as efficient as possible here. ProspectNow is a property search, which is used for looking at property owners primarily. It also has a tenant search, which is used for, you guessed it, looking up tenants. In the contact manager, you'll notice there's my properties, my tenants, property groups, and tenant groups. So the way that a record will get into my properties is if you save it from a property search. The way that a record will get into my tenants is if you save it from within the tenant search. In terms of functionality, display, it all looks and acts the same. It's just a matter of, where did you save that record from? Did you look it up through the property search and save it to the contact manager? If so, it's going to show up under my properties. Did you look it up from the tenant search? Okay, it's going to show up under my tenants. I'm only going to go over my properties and property groups today, and just know that my tenants and tenant groups works exactly the same way. Okay, and then we'll go over the other 5 options here as well. But we're going to start at the top and go to My Properties. So the My Properties page, let me try that again here. As you can see, we only have one result in here because I deleted all my previous contacts, so we could start from scratch. And that one result is 1445 Ross Avenue LLC. So it's going to show you all of the results in your contact manager on the map. So if, I don't know if you saw at the beginning, but when I had like 30 different results and they were all over the map, it was showing me the whole United States, because it's going to zoom out to capture all of your contacts. So that is, it's going to show you, the map's going to capture all of your contacts that are showing up in this display. So so we have the record. You'll notice the layout is exactly the same as the property search in terms of how you look at the data. The only difference is you can search your contacts by name. So let me go in here, and actually I'm just going to quickly add one more record to the contact manager. Let's find one here. James Walker. You go into my contact manager. I'm just going to quickly save him in there. I'm not going to do a whole lot other than just put him directly there. Okay, and then I'm going to go back just so we have a couple different records to work with here. Okay, so I could come in here and I could search my contacts by name. Gosh, I spoke to that guy, you know, let's say I've got 2,000 results in my contact manager. Gosh, what was that guy's name? I think it was James Walker. So I could come in here and search for James Walker, click enter, and you'll notice it's pretty specific. So I think I actually have to do either let's just do last name, or I could do Walker James, and I think that would do it as well. Oh wow, no, it's exact. Anyways, we're going to search by name, by last name. As you can see, that tends to work better. And that pulls up the, that specific record. And from there, you've got the same options to send mail, export. You can also create groups. So you can add records to a group. I could take this out, just delete it completely so I can pull them all up here. So you can add records to a group simply by clicking the Add to Group button. As I mentioned, you can also do that from the details page. You can even do that when you're saving it to the contact manager. You can add it to a group directly from there. So a few different ways to add a group. But first, you have to select the record, which you would just check the box. So I've got him selected here. I'm going to add this to group. And we'll put him in my hot leads group. Press select. And so now he's in my hot leads group, and I think I put this 1445 in my Ross Avenue, or my callback next week group. And so to access your groups, you might have already seen this. Click on view groups, and now I can go in here and click on my, I guess I didn't put them in my callback next week. So I just have my hot leads group, and I can click on view, and it will only pull up records that I've placed in that group. And so now I have them in my group. If I want to remove them from that group, I simply select the record, click remove from group. Pretty straightforward, right? It's not a lot of complexity with regards to that. And that's by design. We've made this very simple so that you can use that and really not spend a lot of time learning how to use it. Okay, so we've talked about my properties and my tenants and property groups. Tenant groups, like I mentioned, they work the same. It's just a function of where you save the record from. So we're going to talk about the activity, pipeline, task manager, notes manager, and appointments. So if you click on any one of these, with the exception of appointments, so I'm going to click on activity, and it's going to pull up my activity monitor, and this is going to track your dials, your goal, your contacts, the goals you set. So I've got a goal set in my contact manager to make 25 dials a day, and I've made 2, right? And so how do we track that? You might be asking, well, if you have the ProspectNow dialer, it's automatically tracked every time the call connects, or every time you make a dial, it's automatically tracked. If you don't have the ProspectNow dialer, every time you look up a phone number, we're assuming that you're going to call them, so we count that as a dial. Contacts, if you'll recall, when I looked up the phone number originally, I marked it as a contact, and so that's where this is coming from. And then these other categories, I guess I'll call them, are derived from my pipeline. So you can see here, the contact manager, we've got activity, pipeline, task manager, notes manager. And so if I click on task manager, for example, it's the same page, it's just on a different tab. So you can get to these different options from within these tabs very, very easily. So the pipeline allows you to create opportunities based on specific sales stages. So I've just got call, close, and closed, right? It's very simple. I can customize my sales steps. So this is a template. I can do another template here. I'll just do the default template. So this is what you'll see as a standard offering with ProspectNow. And you can see my sales stages changes: lead, first appointment, proposal, listing, contract, close. And at each stage, you can plug that in for different probabilities, different values. And what that will do is create kind of a high-level overview of what you have in the pipeline, so that you can go after your high value opportunities first and work your way down from there. The Task Manager shows you all of your open tasks, everything that's active, or you can sort by task status. So we had two for Bob, right? One was to call him back tomorrow, and then we traveled in the future by 1 day and called him, and he told us to call him back next week after his vacation. So one of these tasks needs to be marked complete. So I could click on the subject of the task and change the status to completed. Press save, and that task goes away because this view is only for active to-dos. If I wanted to see all, it comes back. If I wanted to only see the ones that I've completed, we don't see the one that's incomplete. Again, not a lot of complexity there. It just takes a little bit of management. So, and then next week when we call Bob again, we can, we can mark the task complete, or if you want, you can just push you could basically add to the existing task and push out the due date, up to you. Finally, the Notes Manager shows you all of the notes you've ever taken. I've only taken 2 since I deleted all my records from my Contact Manager, and you can see here, this is the first note I took, and this is the second note I took. I can add additional notes from here. Really, I don't know when that would occur, since you're generally taking notes at the point of a call or from the property search page or from the details page, but you have the option to add notes here if you need to. More importantly, you can delete notes from here. So if you wanted to clean anything up, you can do that from this page. The only thing that doesn't show up on this page is the appointments, and that's because it's its own separate thing. So you can actually come in here and see all of your appointments. You can click on any time slot here. It's broken down into 15-minute increments. So you can create appointments here just by clicking on a time slot, put in meeting today at 1:30 to 2, set it. You could have a repeat appointment and create an email alert for yourself 15 to 30 minutes beforehand. And then, so I'm creating an appointment, press save, and so now I've got an appointment for that record. You can also do that from the search page when you're saving to a record. When you're saving a record to the Contact Manager, you could click the button that says Add Appointment rather than Add Task, and it'll take you to that. It'll save the record to your Contact Manager and then give you the option to put in your appointment details. And I believe that covers everything. So we went over today how to put a record into your Contact Manager, how to put them into groups, how to monitor your activity. Most importantly, the number one takeaway from this webinar, I would say, is how to use this details page. ProspectNow power users really love this details page because it allows you to manage all of your contact management aspects from one page. You can add notes, you can put them in a group, you can add them, you can add pipeline, task, appointment, all of that can be done from this page. And what's really nice, and that I didn't show you, but I'm showing you now, is that if you have, as you see in my search results here, I've got 224 results. This is result number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Blackland. So if I open that up, you can see it's showing result 5 of 224. And you could actually go through and look at, you could scroll through all of your search results one record at a time from this view and do all of your management from here. So, and then come back in your Contact Manager, pull up your group that's, the hot leads group or the callback next month group or whatever group you have set up, and do further follow-up from there. At this point, if there are any questions, go ahead and submit them through the chat window there, and we will get those answered for you. I did record this webinar. It will be available on our YouTube channel later today if you would like to review it. But otherwise, go ahead and submit your questions, and I will get them answered for you at this time. Yeah, so this kind of all-in-one view of a specific property. This is the details page. To access the details page is really easy. You're going to get there from the search results page. So you would highlight a specific record, and when it populates the data under the owner tab, you'll notice that the owner on title, their name is highlighted in blue, and you would just simply click on that, and there you have it. So there's a question about being able to download the appointment calendar to Outlook. At this time, that's not possible. It's just within ProspectNow. And one thing I will say is that when you log into ProspectNow, the calendar does show all of your tasks and appointments that you have created. So next week, and I've got my Call Bob task today. I've got my appointment that I set up. But it does not download to any other platform. All right, I don't see any further questions, so I'll go ahead and conclude today's webinar. Hope it was helpful, and if you want to review it later,